some things at the home that were concerning to us. We believe now, after we processed that crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime scene, that we do in fact have a crime. We know she didn't just walk out of there. She did not leave on her own. Nancy Guthrie is of great sound mind. This is not a dementia related. She is as sharp as a tack, and we're asking the community's help.
The mystery surrounding Nancy Guthrie's disappearance is growing this morning as ransom letters are beginning to surface. But the question is, are these letters real? Plus, we're taking a closer look at the Guthrie property. We're talking about the key clues from that Arizona home. Also this hour, we have a special friend of Savannah Guthrie speaking out amidst the search for her mom. One of her former co-anchors joins us live this morning on the show. And blood found in Nancy Guthrie's home. The DNA questions that are sparking new speculation this morning. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Wednesday morning to you and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. This is the show where we get you all warmed up and ready to go for the big day ahead on Court TV Live. And we have a big show planned for you this morning with great guests. So let's get it started. Grab that cup of coffee right now. It's time for my opening statement. It's so disturbing. Nancy Guthrie's kidnapping is so disturbing on so many levels. My heart breaks for Savannah and her family. Nancy Guthrie is 84 years old, and by all accounts, everything I've read and heard, she's a saint. To think that somebody would break into her home while she is sound asleep to take her is chilling. The blood trail left behind at her home tells us that somebody got hurt in the process of the kidnapping, which makes this horrific crime even more upsetting. It makes you wonder if she tried to fight off her kidnapper, and if she's in pain right now because of an injury. And then there are the purported ransom notes. TMZ breaking the story about one of them that was sent to them. And get this, Court TV's parent company, Scripps. Well, one of their local stations, KGUN in Tucson, also received one of these purported ransom notes. Now, both of these notes were turned over to law enforcement. We know that. And in both of these notes, payments of several $1 million in Bitcoin is demanded. Bitcoin? Really? Not cash? That strikes me as odd, but that's me. Also, the fact that these purported ransom notes are sent 3 days after the kidnapping also doesn't smell right to me. I think this could be the work of scam artists, capitalizing on a terrible situation. It's all like something out of a nightmare. But this is sadly real life for Nancy and Savannah Guthrie and their family. So let's continue, my friends, sending up our prayers, and let's hope and pray that Nancy will be rescued and returned home safely. That's my opening statement on this Wednesday. Let me know if you like it. Right now, time for your daily docket.
I seen Nicole land on the porch, and she looked like she was mortally wounded also.
What was it that made you think that?
I could tell by her eyes that she was no longer with us.
In North Carolina, we have day number 2 of the teen killing spree sentencing. Hearing begins 9:30 a.m. Eastern. The defendant is Austin Thompson. He's looking at either life in prison with or without the possibility of parole. In New Jersey, we've got the state's case continuing this morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern in the Mansion murders trial for defendant Paul Canero. And in Ohio, we have our newest trial beginning today. This one we're calling the deadly divorce murder trial. Defendant William Long is accused of killing his ex-wife right after they divorced. Opening statements start at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. This is right after the jury is going to be viewing the crime scene. Right now, we turn to your top story, the massive manhunt for Nancy Guthrie. It's taking a turn as ransom notes are starting to surface. Now, TMZ says that it obtained one letter allegedly describing key evidence that the public doesn't know.
We received an email at TMZ from somebody purporting to basically issue a ransom demand. And then they give a description of something that Savannah's mother was wearing at the time of the abduction and a damaged item in the house.
Both things are clearly mentioned because they want to prove that they're legit.
Okay, so as I mentioned in my opening statement, our affiliate, Scripps News Tucson, KGUN, has also received a separate ransom note. Both of these notes are allegedly demanding several $1 million in Bitcoin, but the Pima County Sheriff's Office is remaining tight-lipped regarding any ransom negotiations.
About the answer that you gave earlier, you were asked if there
Last question.
You were asked if there was any ransom, and you didn't say no. You said we're following all leads. Does that mean a ransom has come in?
We're following all leads we have. That's all I can tell you.
Big question, do these ransom notes sound legit? Let's bring in our expert guests, see what they have to say about this. Want to welcome in crime scene investigator Cheryl McCollum and retired detective and sergeant with the NYPD, Dan Murphy. Good morning to you both. Cheryl, I'll begin with you. Your thoughts on these notes?
You already hit it out of the park. They're going to wait 3 days.
Thank you, my friend.
Not only do they wait 3 days, then they say, hey, we want the money by Thursday. But if we don't get it by Monday, now they're giving you an extra 4 days? No, that does not ring true. That sounds pretty bogus to me. And also law enforcement, when they're talking about what Nancy was probably wearing or what was in the home that might have been damaged, law enforcement already knows whether or not that rings true. The sheriff said very clearly yesterday he would update again on Thursday. So he's not taking this as breaking the case.
Right. Great points, Cheryl. Dan, let me go to you next, please. Do you think this also sounds fishy?
Very much so. If you're going to conduct a kidnapping, what you want to do is you want to make ransom demands immediately. And there's a number of reasons for that. You don't want the police going to the media for help. You want to keep this low key. You want to keep communication as direct to either the police and or the family as possible. This is blown up in the media. Everybody knows about it, and everybody's coming out of the woodwork like they do. So these notes to me, 3 days later, to multiple news outlets are exactly diametrically opposed to what a smart kidnapper or kidnapping crew would do.
Yes, great points, Dan. Let's take a listen to what the sheriff said. He did that question and answer session with the media yesterday, and he's asked particularly about demands being made.
Have any demands been made by kidnappers?
We have all kinds of investigative leads we're working on.
Okay, and here's the statement from the Sheriff's Department saying, quote, we're aware of reports circulating about possible ransom notes regarding the investigation into Nancy Guthrie. We're taking all tips and leads very seriously. Anything that comes in goes directly to our detectives who are coordinating with the FBI. Cheryl, I want to go back to you. I keep thinking that what if there was a ransom demand that was privately directed to someone in the family? I'm sure you've thought about this. Talk to us about that, please, and what law enforcement may want to hold back from the public.
It's great that they would hold it back. That would be the right move. One thing that is, struck me about this whole case is we have not seen Savannah Guthrie come forward pleading for her mama's safe return, offering reward money. She has not used her media platform, which is unusual. You'd think that's something she would do unless they know that's not needed here. So what you would want to look at is she's on a major TV show, but they're going to send the ransom note to a small affiliate in Tucson. Again, that doesn't ring true for me. Why not send it to NBC? That would make more sense to me. And when you're talking about we want cash and we want Bitcoin, Dan will tell you, anytime you're adding a step in your crime, you're more likely to get caught. Why would they want not one, but two ways to transfer money? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Right, Cheryl. And Dan, you've worked so many kidnapping cases in your career. Does this seem like a kidnapping to you, or does it potentially seem like something else?
You'd have to know the life of the victim to determine whether or not this was targeted on her. However, I think it's smart that the sheriff is keeping as much close to the vest as he can at this point. The media naturally is going to ask questions, but they know a lot more than we do at this point. And if there was a direct request made to the family for ransom or demand for ransom, then they know that and they're working that angle. Everything else that comes in can be seen as noise. The various networks that receive these calls or these emails are going to forward them, but they're also going to use them on their own platforms, which would increase their viewership. So there's a lot of elements at play here. The smart thing to do from a police perspective is keep this investigation as much out of the media as possible. You don't want to tip your hand. You don't want to let anyone know what you really know. There probably is a lot more known than what they're saying.
Yes, Dan, that's great advice. And thinking about that, this sheriff, I think has done a great job in thanking the media for the interest, thanking the public, getting out there, but not showing all the aces, so to speak. Cheryl, would you weigh in on that, what he did yesterday, saying, go ahead, ask me what you want to ask me, and I'll answer what I can answer?
I think it's important that he's maintaining that communication with everybody. He keeps saying, we need your help. Look at your own Ring camera. If anybody knows anything, contact us. That's critical here. You have an 84-year-old woman with physical limitations. The family has said she can't walk 50 yards. The blood is concerning because you don't have to make an 84-year-old woman bleed to control her. So I'm concerned about what they knew immediately in the home. Another thing that concerned me, on the 2nd, Savannah Guthrie says she's not going to do the Winter Olympics on the 6th. So she knew on the 2nd that her mama was not going to return safely in an hour. She was planning 4 days later, I'm still going to be here involved in whatever this is. So I think they absolutely know more. I think you don't have to look any further than what the family is or is not doing.
Right, Cheryl. The bleeding, that's what I'm stuck on. The point you raised, Cheryl, about if somebody wants to do a kidnapping, does there necessarily need to be an assault involved? Or maybe with a young, strong person who's fighting back hard. With an elderly woman with mobility issues, it makes you question it, as you said, Cheryl. Dan, I want to tap into your experience working homicides. Is that a possibility here?
Absolutely. Everything is a possibility at this point. The fact that there's blood, if the DNA comes back and it matches that it is Nancy Guthrie's blood, then we know in fact that she's been injured somehow, enough to bleed like we saw in that photo and perhaps even more. For all we know, we don't know what her situation is right now health-wise. These individuals that did this may have done that simply to show that they were serious. It may be far different than what we think it is right now. I always hold out the possibility that I am completely wrong in my initial assumptions about a case. And there's also the possibility, the very real possibility, that these notes, these ransom notes that are coming in, are just like you said before, and we've all agreed, potentially scam. If you're going to kidnap somebody, you're going to want to let the ransom demand come in right away, because you do not want it the lead story around the world.
I could listen to you both talk all day. Detective Sergeant Dan Murphy, crime scene investigator Cheryl McCollum, and by the way, you both have podcasts that folks can listen to you both talking. The Gold Shield Show you have, Dan, and Zone 7, Cheryl, is yours. So everybody, give them a listen. Thank you both for weighing in on this very upsetting case. We're going to hit a break, and when we come back, we're going to continue our coverage here on Opening Statements.
We noticed that the camera on the front of the house is missing. Do you believe the perpetrator purposely took the camera?
Don't know that. We're looking into that as well.
A closer look at Nancy Guthrie's home, the evidence that her property may hold. Plus, later in the show, a former co-anchor and friend of Savannah Guthrie's joins us live.
This week,
covering the country's biggest trials before we bring you inside the courtroom. Plus, the most compelling true crime cases in our daily spotlight.
Opening Statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
The tragic murder of Keith Canero and his entire family. This one is the most brutal case that I've seen in my experience here.
The Mansion Murders Trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Has that scene been fully processed now? We saw deputies leave around 6 o'clock last night. We didn't see tape go up. An Amazon driver was able to walk right up to the door. Is that pretty standard for how you handle this?
The scene is done. We're done with the residents. If we need to go back to get, maybe we want to do something with some other piece of evidence there, we contact the family and let them know. But we've turned that over to the family. I don't have the time, but it was sometime yesterday, I believe.
So what does the scene tell us about what happened to Nancy Guthrie? The 84-year-old was taken against her will over the weekend. She was last seen Saturday and reported missing Sunday morning after not showing up for church. Police say there are signs of forced entry and several personal items, including Nancy's cell phone and her wallet, still at the house. Surveillance footage and area license plate cameras are still being reviewed, as well as cell phone tower data. Let's take a closer look together at the Guthrie property with our own expert. Want to welcome in now private investigator J.P. Miller. J.P., good morning to you. Good morning. So we're going to go through all of this piece by piece. We're going to get to the cell phone towers and the license plate readers in a moment, but you noticed some challenges at the property. Talk to us, please, about what you noticed.
So a lot of these properties in this residential neighborhood are spaced out. They're about on an acre to 4 acres, depending. None of the houses are front-facing one another, so front door to front door. They're not really adjacent. They're kind of twisted, and so you might have a front door to a back door or a side of the house. So that creates a problem when we're talking about surveillance footage, ring cameras. We have long driveways. You have natural vegetation in the front yards, the backyards of these properties that can create an obstacle for those type of nest cameras, ring cameras, those type of items that we normally see on a house.
Yes, really good points, JP. Now, you believe the detectives are going to rely heavily on cell phone towers and cell site data to try to help locate Nancy Guthrie, and we have a look at the towers near her home. So we'll put that up, and then have you walk us through how exactly will this aid in the investigation?
Yeah, so I guarantee that law enforcement is already looking at this angle. There's several cell phone towers, approximately 41, just in a 3-mile radius of her neighborhood. That creates resources for law enforcement that, since they can't rely on ring cameras or possible eyewitnesses that may have seen something that happens, they're gonna have to rely heavily on digital evidence. That being said, the cell phone tower, they brought the FBI in. They have a great CAS team, which is their cellular analysis team. They do fantastic work. I think that they're going to rely heavily on these towers to not pinpoint her specifically because she left her cell phone on scene, but any individual that shouldn't be there or is irregular. They can then utilize other resources with those tower information, how they talk one another, and really pinpoint where this individual is.
Yeah, boy, that's fascinating. Let's talk about the license plate readers, which investigators have said that they're using in this search to find Nancy Guthrie and bring her home. Focusing in on the area near the crime scene, what do you think investigators can possibly gather given the way these homes are situated?
So license plate readers are used by homicide detectives, law enforcement for all types of different cases, but it helps you create a timeline. That matched with the cell phone data, we can really map vehicles with a person of interest, suspects, victims, so forth. And this creates a great timeline. You can map and see where they might go, where they are going, if they're out of the county, if they're crossing state lines. These license plate readers are everywhere in metropolitan cities. They're heavily populated in the Tucson area, not only in downtown, but also in residential areas. So where it might be lacking with the actual residential cameras, you can pick them up from the roadways, the Department of Transportation, and any other LPR system that they have, whether it be Flock or Axon or any of the other brands. They should be everywhere.
So would you go to those roadways, run the plates, and then try to figure out who these people are and whether they would have had any business in that nearby vicinity.
Yeah, it can also help create a timeline. So law enforcement can go back months at a time. So they can see a vehicle that was maybe staking the residents out in the area often, if it's not in the area often, and they don't even need the actual license plate number. If they get a description, they can even search for vehicles with just that.
Right, JP. You talked about the timeline. We have a clip of the sheriff addressing some of the key timeline points with respect to Nancy's disappearance. Here we go.
9:45 in the evening, her children left her off. At some time earlier that morning, they got a call from somebody at the church who said, hey, your mom's not here. The family went to the house. I'm thinking they spent some time looking for her themselves before they called us, so I'm guessing maybe they got there around 11. So they did some searching and realized we need some help, and they called 911.
Oh, this is tough. JP, you've served in law enforcement for quite some time. You're in the private sector now. When you're already behind the clock, when you get that call, it makes it really tough, doesn't it?
It does.
Talk to us, please, about how you catch up, to hunt down these perpetrators or perpetrator, whomever did this to Nancy Guthrie, and get her home.
So a lot of it is going to be what the sheriff has already started to do. He's brought in outside resources. He brought the FBI in early. Like I said earlier, they have a fantastic cell phone division that can track people. That's all they do is track whether it's a homicide case, a missing person case, whether it's elderly or juvenile. They're fantastic at what they do. So he brought them in early, which is great. He also brought in other federal agencies to assist. That rules out possibilities of her in the surrounding area, such as bringing in Department of Homeland Security and their canines, which I think was great. So the catch-up game is now going to be digital forensics, asking the help from the media, asking the help from the community, and just getting to work and as much help as possible. He's going to allocate other investigators to run down leads while the primary focuses.
Right. JP, thank you for that. I want to back up a little bit. When this call first came in and everybody went out, we had heard this early on, that it was homicide who responded to the house. Is that at all unusual to you?
That's not. Homicide detectives are typically the best detectives in their agency. I've worked homicide for years, and these guys, they know what they're doing. They can handle it. They can handle the stress, the workload that comes with it. They know how to execute the search warrants properly, and they're seasoned detectives.
Yeah. And with the blood, that made sense to me. Did that, with the blood being at the house, that, oh, okay, perhaps a homicide was committed here. We don't know. We hope not. But certainly a possibility, isn't it? It
is, and there's several troubling pieces of evidence that have already come to light, whether it's the forced entry and the possibility of blood evidence as well.
Right. JP Miller, always great to have you in the studio. Thank you so much for the great insights this morning. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Friends at home, don't go anywhere except maybe to get some more coffee. We have a friend of Savannah Guthrie's joining us on the show this morning. He co-anchored with her at KVOA in Tucson. And I know him too. His name's Danny Harnden. He's going to join us live next. And then in our next hour of programming, we're going to be taking you to Montana when Court TV Live kicks off. We have a man facing sentencing for a brutal campsite murder. You're going to hear the emotional victim impact statements, and trust me, you don't want to miss it.
This man has destroyed a family, and I hope he has to sit there every day for the rest of his life and think about what he did to mine.
And my heart was broken. I was broken. My sense of safety evaporated. My world changed in that horrifying moment.
This looks like someone who is proud of what he has done. Someone who, if given the opportunity, would do it again. I believe he should never be given that chance.
Welcome back. This morning, our spotlight shines on Savannah Guthrie and her missing mom, Nancy. To millions of TV viewers, Savannah feels like a friend, but a select few have had the privilege to actually call her one. One of those people is Danny Harnden. He worked with Savannah for many years in Tucson, Arizona, and you're taking a look at a few pictures of them together years ago. Danny has also had the pleasure of meeting Savannah's mom, Nancy. Danny's currently both a sports and news anchor at Fox 8 WGHP TV station in the Piedmont Triad of North Carolina. Great station, and Danny is a tremendous talent and wonderful person. I had the privilege of working with him there at Fox 8. And this morning, Danny is kind enough to come here on Court TV on opening statements to join me this morning. Danny, it's so good to see you, my friend, and I wish it was under better circumstances, and I know you do too. Thank you for coming on. And if I can just start by just asking, what's going through your mind? Is this personal to you? I know.
It really is. I met Nancy just a couple of times. One time I remember with Savannah's going away party when she left KVOA to go to DC to go to law school. And I just got a sense that Nancy was just so proud. Yes, she was proud of all three of her kids, but there's something about being a baby. I'm the baby of 6, and Savannah's the baby of 3, and just how proud she was of her and how special it was for her mom. You know, Nancy lost her husband while Savannah was in high school, and to have her daughter, to be able to flip on the TV and to see her daughter for 5 years in her hometown, I know that was so special for Nancy to be able to have that connection and have her daughter, you know, be a TV person in her hometown. And just the lay of the land there is fascinating. Savannah went to Amphi High School, which is a mile away from KVOA TV. Can you imagine a dream come true? And then just a couple miles up the road the other way is University of Arizona, where she went to college. Just incredible for her mom to be able to, I know my parents, I never worked where my parents lived, so they were never able to see me on TV all that much. So it's just very special for Nancy to be able to see her daughter every night. And then think about it, when she goes to NBC and then Court TV and then obviously the Today Show, for Nancy to be able to see her daughter every day on just flipping on the TV just is incredible.
Oh, I'm sure she has just been so incredibly proud of Savannah, and from what we've seen Savannah share on the Today Show, she's so proud of her mom too. Danny, I'm sure you picked up on that, the bond that they really seem to have that is just so close and so precious.
Yeah, I love the episodes where the mom was on the Today Show and just the joking back and forth and the fun they have. You know that it was just something special. And also a tragedy like Savannah losing her father when she was in high school. It does something. You know, it does something to you, and you bond with the mom. And I just love seeing the pictures of those two together. They're just always smiling, having fun together on TV.
Yes, beautiful ladies. And when you talk about the bonding, I'm looking at those photos, and thank you for sharing all of these personal photos with our Court TV audience, Danny. We really appreciate it. And looking back, you can see the bond as you and Savannah shared a desk. I believe for about 5 years you were co-anchors, and so much more. You're with each other's families. I've seen your beautiful wife Sandy in pictures, your son Jeffrey, who is a lawyer now. We need to get him on the show to be a guest.
No,
is that him right there with, covering his eyes? Oh, look.
It is. Yeah, it was a special time. We visited Savannah when she was, that picture right there, when she went to Georgetown Law School. My parents were living in Northern Virginia at the time, so we jumped on the metro and went to go visit her. I was so proud of her, and it was so interesting, everything she's done in her career, like, oh, I'm going to quit TV, I'm going to go to Georgetown Law School, and I'm going to kill it there. I'm going to do so well there, and then I'm going to go Court TV and NBC and then Today Show. I just sit back and go, I'm not surprised. You know, Julie, how some people in TV have it? I mean, she's always had it. Even when she was a weekend anchor at KVOA in Tucson with me, I was the sports guy, she was the news person, and Sally Shamrell was the weather lady. And every Sunday night we had this thing. We'd always go to a Mexican restaurant, talk about work and talk about life, and some of my favorite memories. But I was never surprised that she ended up like she did. She just had it. I mean, we had somebody else, Dan Hicks at KVOA that I worked with, that you could tell the first day on the job, oh, you're going big time. And now he's with NBC Sports forever. Some people just have it.
Right. Well, you're one of them, my friend. I've shared a desk with you. You do. You light up the screen. You have that magnetic personality, and the viewers love you in North Carolina. And I can remember sharing the desk with you and talking about Savannah, and you telling me what a nice person she is, too.
Yeah. Yes. An example of this was a couple years ago, Ashley Banfield had a kind of a webinar thing where mentors would come on. And so I got on there. Savannah was her guest. And I hadn't spoken to Savannah 15 years or something like that. And right away, Savannah goes, Danny, so nice to see you. How's Sandy, your wife? How are the kids? I mean, just right away, she remembers names and things. And that's who she was. And my heart just goes out just for the family and Nancy. Julie, I got to tell you, that area where Nancy lives, I'm very familiar with it. I live just a couple miles down the road. And my brother lives a mile away from Nancy Guthrie. And it is, I'm just going to tell you, it's my favorite place on earth. I love Tucson. I love that area. It kind of overlooks the city of Tucson. It kind of, you can see the University of Arizona down the hill there. Very, very, very nice place. Just the cactus and the wildlife that comes up to your front door, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful place. But Julie, this is crazy. I gotta share this with you, that just 3 miles on the same street down the road, that's where Gabby Giffords was shot back in 2011. I mean, just on the same road. We're talking Campbell area where Skyline turns into Ina Road there. People that live in Tucson are familiar with that. Just a couple miles down the road, and then 1 mile the other way from Nancy Guthrie's house. Your Court TV fans may remember the name Gary Triano. He was murdered with a car bomb back in 1996 at La Paloma Country Club. So we're talking 3 horrible things that have happened right on the same road there in Tucson, but in the most beautiful part of our country there in Tucson, overlooking the city. It's heartbreaking.
Oh, my goodness. Danny, I have chills. As I'm listening to you, I have chills. My jaw dropped as soon as you said that about Gabby Giffords, and then the proximity and the fact that this is an area that, as you said, is just marvelous to look at and experience. From what I'm reading and seeing with all of the coverage about this case, it also seems like a very safe area. We're hearing that residents would feel good about being in their homes there. Was that always how you remember it and how you know it to be today?
Yeah, I mean, I live just a couple miles down the road from Nancy Guthrie, and very, very safe place and beautiful. And just, like I said, I'm very biased. I love Tucson. I just love it so much. My favorite place on earth. I just love the weather. I just love where it is. You just see the vegetation there, and yeah, you don't have green grass. People back east are like, where's the green? You know, well, it's on the golf course. That's the only place you really have green there. But it's just, you feel safe. Again, I mentioned my brother lives about a mile away from there, from Nancy's home, and it's just, I visit him once a year. I go out there once a year. It's just a very safe, fun, great place to live. And again, those 3 major things to happen within a couple of miles is crazy to think about.
It really is, Danny. Tell me, before we let you go, what message do you have for Savannah and her family right now as they are on pins and needles, hoping and praying for Nancy's safe return?
First of all, I can't put myself in her shoes. I can't imagine. My father lives in Phoenix, Arizona. He turns 95 later this year, and I just can't imagine that happening to him. And I just, again, like we opened up with, I just know how much Nancy loves Savannah and all their kids, but just so proud of Savannah and all that she's become. And again, it wasn't a surprise at all that Savannah's turned into a TV star. And my heart just goes out to that entire family. I mean, Nancy decided to live in Tucson for over 50 years. She loved that place. And as we mentioned, it feels like a safe place. And this is just, it just is really hard.
Danny Harnden, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. Your special friendship with Savannah and your time together professionally was all part of her journey. And I know that you're sending the prayers and the love, just that we are here at Court TV. We're hoping for the very best outcome here. Danny, thank you so much. And please give everyone at Fox 8 my love. Tell everyone I miss them. And I'll look forward to talking with you soon. Take care.
I will, Julie.
Friends at home, don't go anywhere except maybe to get a little more coffee. We're going to hit a break. When we come back, here's what's next on Opening Statements.
There was blood that was found inside the house and you're testing it for DNA. How much blood and where was it?
I'm not saying there's blood inside that house or outside that house.
The sheriff being very tight-lipped about the reports of blood found in Nancy Guthrie's house. Could the DNA testing reveal the truth? Plus,
I'll be appealing your crooked-ass court system.
All right. That's fine. You can do that. All right. So that just demonstrates where we're at here today. So, all right.
later in our next hour, we're turning to the Montana campsite murder sentencing. We've got jaw-dropping moments straight ahead.
This week,
Covering the country's biggest trials before we bring you inside the courtroom. Plus, the most compelling true crime cases in our daily spotlight.
Opening Statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
The tragic murder of Keith Canero and his entire family.
This one is the most brutal case that I've seen in my experience here.
The Mansion Murders Trial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Welcome back. Now let's talk about DNA evidence found at Nancy Guthrie's home. In particular, blood drops seen outside of Guthrie's front door. We still don't know if it belongs to Nancy Guthrie. Authorities were also asked about any possible blood evidence inside the home.
I'm not saying there's blood inside that house or outside that house. What I'm saying is our team processed a scene like you would think of any crime scene. We go in and we process it. We look for things like that: blood, DNA, any kind of physical evidence, fingerprints, anything. And all of that is gathered and submitted to a lab. That lab will report back to us what they find. So found from that lab is nothing that would tell us this is who did this.
The sheriff says that biological DNA from the home was sent to the crime lab, and authorities confirm that the DNA belongs to Guthrie. But they won't be specific what the DNA is from. Is it from the blood or from something else? Let's sort it out with professor and forensic death investigator Joseph Scott Morgan. Good morning, Professor Joe. Your thoughts on this biological DNA evidence?
It's quite compelling, isn't it? Because first we have to sort this out relative to what the source of the DNA is. Okay, if they're going to be testing it, are we talking about something fragile like touch DNA, or are we talking about maybe something that is very DNA rich like a blood? We have to determine whose blood that is first off, and then we can begin to unpack the DNA origins of it. Okay, so let's just say you've got a commingled sample. If this is, in fact, Mrs. Guthrie's blood, and one of the perpetrators may have shed blood, you could have commingling. So you kind of have to unspool all of that. That's quite complicated on one level, and then putting a fine point on it and seeing if you can get that individual ID'd that is there, as opposed to Mrs. Guthrie. So they're going to be looking at multiple surfaces in this house. I'm looking at blood deposition right now that you guys are doing a fantastic job of demonstrating here, assuming that is blood. And again, you know, it has to go through the rigor of testing to confirm that it's blood. That's why the sheriff is saying that. If you just look at that, the deposition of that is almost as if it's very low velocity. Those are drips that you see. If you think about, and I'm not saying it's what this is the origin of, but everybody out here has had a bloody nose before, so it's kind of passively falling like this. I saw one image at one point in time that would give me an indication you might have what's referred to as expirated blood. For those that remember, again, another Arizona case, going back to Travis Alexander, you looked at his bathroom sink in there, and that was expirated blood that he had on that surface. It's very, very fine. It means it's being shot out of the mouth and the nose with some level of velocity behind it. It's very fine, almost histamine-like. So they've got a lot to do here, Julie, as far as trying to figure out origin here, and also any other kind of DNA that is in this house. She lived by herself, so I'd like to know if they find any other foreign DNA or DNA linkage to anyone else that might be in her intimate circle. That's going to be very important as well.
Yes, yes, Professor. I want to make a distinction with you as we're looking at those photographs together, and your opinion is it appears to be low velocity blood droplets. Great example with the bloody nose. Let's make the distinction, Professor, for everyone watching at home. High velocity blood spatter might come from a very violent event and it would look different, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it would. So when you're talking about high velocity, most of the time that's associated with firearms. And just think about it this way. If you're talking about a firearm, you're potentially talking about something that's like a supersonic round that is impacting the surface, and you have this bloody deposition. Well, the droplets are very, very tiny at that point in time because the size of the droplets are dictated by the velocity at which that kinetic energy is delivered on target. You think about medium velocity, think about someone being struck with a blunt object, perhaps like a baseball bat or a pipe or something like that, or even a car accident. You can see it there. Low velocity, most of the time, if you're talking about where it's deposited, you can think about like a punch in the face, punch in the nose, those sorts of things. But also, that's going to look a bit different than just kind of passive dripping, okay, where it's just kind of dripping down. It doesn't really have any kind of, it's not being propelled through the air at that point in time. It's just gravitational pull, if you will, that's dropping it and depositing it like that. You see how kind of perfectly round that deposition is.
Right, Professor, great explainer, thank you. We know, as you said, the sheriff isn't saying whose blood it is, won't even go so far as to confirm whether it's in the house or outside, but we can all draw our own opinions looking at this based on our own experiences, and with you having so much in the field working these cases. Tell me a little bit about whether you think the DNA sample that they say belongs to Nancy Guthrie is from this blood.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that would be easily determined. And if it's not, negative findings are just as important as positive findings in forensics. So if it's not her, it has to be somebody else. And so you begin going down that road. And of course, with some of the advances we have now relative to forensic genetic genealogy, all bets are off. And anything else that's been touched, notes, things that are written on, all those sorts of things. It's hard to hide nowadays, my friend.
Yeah, excellent points you made for us this morning. We'll leave it here for now. Professor Joseph Scott Morgan, professor at Jacksonville State University, thank you so much for your insights this morning. We really appreciate it. And friends at home, thank you for being with us for this episode of Opening Statements. If you liked it, share it. Go to courttv.com, click on the Shows tab.